Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast, brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVRealtor.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVRealtor.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Hey, good.
Good. Glad we got that out of the way.
Riveting radio.
Moving right along. Coming up later in the program, going to be visiting with the author of Pretty Girls. Karin Slaughter is going to be joining us. She's a best-selling author, has a lot of great books out there, and this is one more to add to her collection. So I'm going to be chatting with her here before you know it. Also, did you know zebras are actually black with white stripes? Many people think they're white with black stripes, but they're not. They're black with white stripes. Did you know that?
I've never really put much thought into it, I suppose.
Nor have I.
They're black and white is what I've always thought.
But here's the thing. But they're black with white stripes. They're not white with black stripes.
Okay.
So now you know.
There's a place, somebody got a grant to figure that out?
Probably. There's a place in Italy that's dedicated a monument to people who are physically ugly but beautiful on the inside. What?
A monument?
There's a monument dedicated to people who are physically unattractive.
So it's an ugly monument?
But beautiful on the inside, apparently. So there you go. So if that's you, head on over to Italy, I guess.
Super.
So now if you have somebody say, I'd like to take you to Italy, you might want to question their motives. All right. Thanks
I
for
want
listening.
to go to Italy.
Yeah, you want to drag me along now, too, don't you? Quasimodo husband. All right. Coming up, we got some fun stuff to share. It's all on the way on the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Get razors for $1 a month plus a few bucks shipping, so you can enjoy fresh razors every month for as little as $3. Learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio.
This is kind of an interesting story here. A recent study says the United States leads the world in gun ownership. How many guns do we have in the United States, Heidi?
Millions. I know that I don't know the number, but I know that just 3 of our states makes us the 3rd largest army in the world.
Yeah. 9 guns for every 10 Americans. That means if there are 10 Americans in a room, according to the study, 9 of them would have guns. Mm-hmm. I would be one of those. You would be one of those.
I would be one of those.
But here's the thing. You own multiple guns. So do I.
I do.
So we would count for more than one. We would count for 3 or 4. But 9 guns for every 10 Americans. And that is, it's funny. I was talking to a guy, and he was saying something about in the state of New Jersey where he lives. He said, here they try to interpret the Constitution's right to bear arms, means that you can go with short sleeves. But according to the Constitution, we have that right. We have the right to bear arms. And the guns that we own, we don't own machine guns or anything. We own little handguns.
Although I would own a machine gun in a
It's on her
heartbeat.
Christmas list. Probably ain't going to happen.
You have to have a special license for that. I already checked into it.
Well, anyway, 9 guns for every 10 Americans. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RVRealtor.com. If you want to buy or sell an RV, go to RVRealtor.com. List your RV for free. Learn more at RVRealtor.com.
Heidi, it's true because you heard it on the radio. Your home burglary career might be bound for, not such... What would be the...
I have no idea what you're trying to say.
Failure. There we go. Might be bound for failure.
As well as your radio program.
Yes, thank you. If this describes you, listen to this. These couple of guys, they're trying to be burglars, but an 83-year-old man...
You'd think it's Monday listening to you.
Yeah. An 83-year-old man who was carrying an oxygen tank got the better of them. 2 knife-wielding would-be robbers forced their way into the home of 83-year-old Harry Carpenter and his wife Jackie. They were trying to have dinner. One of the men made Harry have a seat while the other went with the 80-year-old Jackie to get money from the bedroom. When Jackie pretended to faint, the intruder who was holding Harry went into the room to see what was going on. That's when Harry, he went to the laundry room and grabbed an unloaded squirrel rifle. They didn't know it was unloaded. When they returned, they found themselves looking down the barrel of Harry's rifle, and they fled with no money or nothing.
Good for him.
All they left with was a tale of torture from an 83-year-old man with an oxygen tank.
Good for him.
So We just recently read a story about 9 guns for every 10 Americans. It's a good thing that Harry Carpenter was one of those men that had a gun.
That's exactly right.
These guys were inside their home, burglarizing them. And luckily, when Jackie pretended to faint, Harry grabbed his squirrel rifle and he fended off the intruders.
That's awesome. I love stories like that.
That's
See, that
really
is
cool.
That is why we have the
It's
right
a good
to bear
deal.
arms. Stories
So,
like that right there. Even
there
though
you
it was
go.
unloaded, it was enough
Yeah.
to scare them.
They didn't know it was not loaded. And the
Right.
good news is, it is a true story. And you know it has to be true because you heard it on the radio.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. Getting drunk is bad enough. Skipping work because you got a hangover, that's not good either. And lying about why you're calling in sick, that's something that is not a good plan either. Sydney, Australia call center worker Kyle Doyle wanted a day off, so he called in sick. That part of the plan went well, but the 21-year-old Kyle sort of blew it when he posted an update on his Facebook profile saying, "Kyle Doyle is not going to work. I'm still trashed."
Oh, my God.
His boss happened to see this.
What an idiot.
Kyle denied it until the boss showed him the screen grab of his Facebook page. Realizing the jig was up, he mailed back, "Ha ha ha, LOL, epic fail, no worries, man." Some worries. The company's investigating Kyle, and he had to change his Facebook status to trying to hide. Whatever that means.
I have no idea what that means.
I don't get it either. Anyway, that's the kind of thing you do when your brain is on drugs.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Keystone Treatment Center. Addiction is no laughing matter. Call Keystone Treatment Center toll-free at 1-844-204-1055.
Got a moment of duh for you, Heidi. A Catholic nun has been sentenced to 6 months of court supervision and 30 hours of community service. Yeah. After pleading guilty to writing white supremacist graffiti on the walls of a hospital where she works as a chaplain. She's 66. Sister Dorothy Torman admits writing racist graffiti in the emergency room on the walls in the bathroom at Providence St. Joseph Medical Center in Joliet, Illinois. She says she did it to see how the hospital administrators would react. Her little experiment worked. She found out how they would react. They fired her. So
Oh, my goodness.
she was just wondering how they would react. Well, then now you know. She was sentenced to 6 months of court supervision and 30 hours of community service. Again, keep in mind, this is a 66-year-old sister, a nun. That's not smart, no matter who you are. But when that's who you are, that's really a moment of duh.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now, your scoop of the day. A New Mexico man binge-watched the TV program Walking Dead. Now he's facing murder charges because he beat an acquaintance to death, claiming his friend started to, and I quote, change into a zombie.
I saw this online.
The suspect and victim had been drinking. Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that.
But I'm going to say, I don't think it was the other guy that was a zombie. It was you from watching The Walking Dead for so darn long. That is such a bad idea. Don't beat somebody to death because you think they're a zombie. I want to tell you that zombies are not for real. That's all pretend. All right, YouTube has a new option that lets you skip all of their ads. And I believe it's a paid option. For those of you who don't want to watch the whole 12 seconds of ads that you have to watch, are we really at a point where we can't handle that? Because when it comes on, there's I think maybe even 5 seconds before you can click skip ad. So
Depending on the ad. Some ads you can't skip.
would you pay to be able to skip
no.
them? Me neither.
I don't spend enough time on YouTube to
Yeah,
even
nor
worry
do I.
about it. So
WikiLeaks has released the first batch of emails allegedly hacked by high school students from the CIA director, John Brennan, on his AOL account. When the CIA director can't keep his emails under wraps, you know
Yeah,
there's
there's
a
trouble.
problem. All right, Chewbacca was arrested about a week ago, Heidi. He was campaigning for Darth Vader in the Ukraine's mayoral race. Not kidding. Chewbacca was just a guy in a costume. But the guy running for mayor really did change his name legally to Darth Vader. Darth Vader lost the election with less than 0.5% of the votes. Less than 0.5% of the votes. So if you were going to change your name to somebody, why would you change it to a villain's name?
Unless he's evil.
Must have been. All right. Could exercise actually be bad for some healthy people? A well-known group of researchers, including one who's helped write the scientific paper justifying national guidelines that promote exercise for all, say that the answer might be a qualified yes. By analyzing data from 6 rigorous exercise studies involving 1,687 people, the group found that about 10% actually got worse on at least one of the measures related to heart disease, blood pressure, or levels of insulin, HDL cholesterol, or triglycerides. About 7% got worse on at least 2 measures.
Wow.
Researchers say they have no idea why. So they're saying for some people, exercise is bad, not good. So there's something to hold on to. I hope maybe I'm in that category.
I doubt it.
Why are you in such bad shape? Well, exercise is actually bad for me. So please, don't judge me. I'm going to get that printed on my T-shirt. All right. Is there a doctor on board? Well, surprisingly often there is. In half of in-flight medical emergencies, there are doctors on board. How crazy is that? And sick airline passengers are almost always surviving, according to a new study. Researchers say in the largest yet look at what happens to people who develop medical problems on commercial flights, guess how many there are every year?
I have no idea.
44,000 people get sick on airplanes. That's out of 2.7 billion passengers worldwide every year. 44,000 are getting sick, and about 22,000 of those people are fortunate because about half, maybe even a little over half, when they say, is there a doctor on board? There is. So there's somebody on board to help them. How crazy is that?
That's nice.
All right. Britons are trying to cheer up their hospitalized friends and relatives in the hospital. They have to do it standing up now. No longer can you sit on the bed next to them while you're talking to them.
That's a new rule,
Yeah,
or has
commentary
that always been the
published recently in the British medical journal BMJ, Dr. Iona Heath argues the recommendation is unjustified and denies patients the chance to be close to their loved ones.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
British authorities claim the ban on sitting is needed to prevent patients from getting infected by their dirty, yucky visitors or the healthcare staff. The staff can't sit on the edge of the bed either.
Huh.
They're saying, hey, talk to them from across the room. Why not just call them?
Yeah,
Isn't that even better?
I disagree with that, but that's,
right.
You know what?
Got a couple
I
of
don't live there, so.
strange laws for you today. First of all, this is the official strange law. It is illegal to hunt camels in the state of Arizona.
Oh, that's nice.
That's cool. And then wasn't really a strange law. It was just in with the stories. It says the central Chinese city of Wuhan has a law that fines women who have children out of wedlock. That wasn't in with our strange laws, but I thought I'm going to scoot that down because that is kind of a strange law.
It is.
All right. And this has been your Scoop of the Day.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RoughToughKennels.com. Dog kennels and accessories sent to your front door wherever you live. Your dog deserves it. Learn more at RoughToughKennels.com.
Thank you so much for joining us on the John and Heidi Show on this Wednesday. We have Karin Slaughter on the line, and Karin is the #1 internationally best-selling author of more than a dozen novels, including the Will, Trent, and Grant County series, and the instant New York Times bestseller Cop Town. More than 35 million copies of her books in print around the world, and we have her on the program right now. Karin, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks.
Well, we're super excited to have you on the program to talk about your new book, Pretty Girls. This is a cool book. Now, how long does it take for you to put a book together?
Well, usually it takes around a year, which is a good thing because that's when my publisher wants me to have them. But with a novel like Pretty Girls, it took a whole lot of thinking about how the story would go and, you know, how everything would fall together and what the twists and turns would be. So it took a little bit longer. Now,
are there books that I should read before reading Pretty Girls to kind of be prepared for this, or is this one that I could kind of just read right on its own?
Yeah, you can write this on its own. It's standalone, and so, you know, you don't have to know anything about my other series.
All right, because you've got several series. Now, is it more difficult to write a standalone book, or is it more difficult to do a series of books?
Well, I'm the typical author, so I think the hardest thing that I do is what I'm doing right now. But each one has its pluses and minuses. With a series character, I know who they are. With a standalone, I have to figure out who they are as I go along. And I really felt passionate about the characters in Pretty Girls, so it was a little easier than normal to come up with these two women and a father who narrate the story. But, each one has its challenges.
So what was the inspiration for the book Pretty Girls? Is this something that you've gone through in your own life, or just kind of something that you said, hey, this would be a fun book?
Well, I thought it would be a fun book. I write about three sisters, and I'm the youngest of three sisters, so I understand that dynamic. But one of the stories on the news that we see repeatedly that always scares me is the story of a young college-age woman who goes out with friends, and then she ends up going home on her own, and no one ever sees her again. And so that's what happens 24 years prior to the beginning of Pretty Girls, is this oldest of three girls, Julia, is a college student, and she just disappears, and the family never finds out what happens to her. So we catch up with that family 24 years later, and we understand the deep, dark ramifications that loss has had on this family.
That's a cool idea for a book. I bet you're going to do well with this one.
I hope so.
You do well with all of them, though. That's really cool. Now, something else that you do really well with is philanthropy. What a cool thing. The founder of Save the Libraries. What was the inspiration to do that? What made you say, hey, I think someone needs to do this, and that someone's going to be me?
Well, a lot of people are doing it. I can't take credit for that completely. But for me, I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that libraries and librarians need our help. And, I want to raise awareness that our politicians, it may benefit them to have people who are voters who don't read and aren't capable of critical thinking. But as an American citizen, I want us to have libraries that foster those things. So I'm encouraging people to call their congressman, call their local community organizers, call everybody they can to help make sure that libraries still get funding and that they're taken care of.
It really is something that in some communities we just take for granted that we have these, but there are other communities that would absolutely love to have a community library. And I see that you guys have donated more than $300,000 to libraries that are struggling. What an awesome thing that you're doing. So thank you for doing that.
My pleasure.
And again, it's called the Save the Libraries organization. Is that something that if people listening are interested in contributing, is there a way that they can do that?
Well, what we do is we encourage people who want to do something to help their local library system and to really look around and say, okay, well, if my system is doing pretty well, usually a great system is adjacent to a system that's struggling or not doing as well. So donate your money where that will do the best. And, all over the country we have extremely poor communities that don't have good library systems because the funds simply aren't there. A lot of times the money for libraries comes from property taxes, things like that. So, people who live in these smaller communities, more rural communities, really need help. They need their systems to be more viable because it just gives back so much to everybody.
It definitely does. Without the books at libraries and youngsters in our country being able to pick up a book and read, at a certain point, if we run out of readers, we're going to run out of writers as well. Because I'll bet you can probably think back to a book that you read in your past that made you say, I want to be a writer. So as a reader, you become more interested in that and then eventually become writers, and it's a cycle that needs to continue. So that's very, very important. Can you think back of like your favorite books when you were a kid?
Well, my favorite probably was Encyclopedia Brown, things like that.
I remember those. That's fun stuff.
Yes.
Visiting right now with best-selling author Karin Slaughter, and Karin has a new book out. So let's talk about your book, Pretty Girls. It's available right now. Is this available kind of pretty much everywhere at all bookstores, you think?
Absolutely. Online, anywhere you can find books.
Will there be a follow-up to this, or this was a completely standalone book?
It's completely standalone. I think I've put them through enough. And I'm my Will Trent series now.
So how does that work when you're working on putting a book together? When you're developing characters, are they typically characters that are like based on somebody that you met in your life somewhere, somebody that you went to school with, or somebody that you worked with? Or how do you come up with the idea for these characters?
Well, I'd like to think that I'm completely capable of coming up with all new characters and that it's not based on anything that I've experienced. But, of course, that's not true. I'm sure that most of my characters are an amalgamation of everybody I've ever met. What I try to do is just to give them really interesting details and a history so they feel like real people to the reader.
You do a darn good job. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this behind your name, #1 international bestseller. That is really cool. How does it feel to have that behind your name?
Well, it's great, and it's something that I don't think about very often. I don't want to get a big head, but most of the time when I sit down to write a book, I'm just thinking about my readers and that I want to give them the best story I can, and that's what I focus on.
That's awesome. Again, Karin, thank you so much for taking some time to visit with us today.
Thank you.
Again, Karin Slaughter, #1 international bestseller. Her new book out is Pretty Girls. It's available at your favorite local bookstore, also available online at Amazon. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday.
This portion of the program is brought to you by CarsForSale.com. If you're in the market to buy a car, truck, or van, find thousands of vehicles to choose from at CarsForSale.com.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Wednesday, the 4th day of November. Today, for whatever reason, it's National Candy Day today.
Oh.
Wouldn't that have been better to have like a couple days ago?
I don't know.
Well, everybody
I suppose if you can get it all on clearance.
I could see today being National Leftover Candy Day. It is also National Chicken Lady Day.
What's a chicken lady?
I don't know. But if you happen to be one, have a good day today. Celebrate by having some candy, chicken lady. And it is Use Your Common Sense Day. And I remember reading a thing that says common sense so very often is not that common. And that's true. So many times, common sense is not all that common. So,
agreed.
And if you happen to have some common sense, do what you can to pass that along to the next generation. They just, for whatever reason, it's not something they're born with these days. So pass it along if you could on this Wednesday, the 4th day of November.
This portion of the program is brought to you by StoneGroupArchitects.com. It's more than a building. It's design and function working together. Check out the project portfolio at StoneGroupArchitects.com.
Have you ever heard of an old wives' tale?
Yeah.
Why do they call them that?
Apparently old wives always used to say it.
Okay, well, we're gonna read some of these things to you here. These are some old wives' tales. A dog's mouth is cleaner than humans. False.
I have heard that.
It's not true, though. A canine mouth contains 53 types of bacteria. A human, only 37. So think twice before giving your dog a kiss on the mouth. I don't let our dogs kiss me on the mouth. You do all the time.
Mandy.
And then you kiss me on the mouth. So I might as well just kiss the dogs on the mouth.
Mandy always tries. And she'll, if she gets the opportunity, she like waits. And then if your mouth is open, she'll try to jam her tongue in your mouth.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's disgusting. It's like, go away.
I think she just laughs. All right, another old wives' tale. I didn't name these. I don't know why it's old wives' tale. So if you're an old wife, please don't be mad at me. Reading in dim light will ruin your eyes. That's also false. It's not going to hurt your eyes.
Really?
Yeah, it might give you a headache because you're struggling to see, but it's not going to ruin your eyes. Toads give you warts. That's also false. Crack your knuckles and you'll get arthritis. Thank goodness. That is false.
I disagree with that. Now that one I believe, because both you and your sister Jamie,
yes,
both of you crack your knuckles, and both of you have hands that are in immense pain all the time.
But here's the thing. Our hands have been in immense pain way longer than we've been cracking our knuckles.
This is not true.
I think the two are not related. If you cross your eyes, they'll stay that way. Well, of course, that's false. Arthritis flares up in wet weather. They say that's false. Now, I'll tell you what.
I disagree with that, too.
You talk to somebody who has arthritis, and they can tell you, ooh, it's going to rain on Thursday.
Yeah.
Like,
I've got an ankle that acts up if it's going to be weird weather.
Spicy food creates stomach ulcers. That is false. I can tell you, it certainly doesn't make them feel good. I know that.
No. Stress creates stomach ulcers.
Walking under a ladder is bad luck.
Of course, that's not an old wives' tale.
But it says here it's true. It says, while a stroll under a ladder won't endanger your soul, it does cause potential dangers from falling buckets and tools.
Of course. That's just common sense.
All right. An apple a day keeps a doctor away. They also say that is true. Apples are packed with antioxidants that fight the free radicals that cause cancer. And finally, chocolate causes acne. True or false, Heidi?
False.
Yeah, false. You can eat as much chocolate as you want. Don't worry about breaking out. You need to clean your skin. That's where the problem comes in. All right. That's going to do it for your old wives' tales that I scoured the internet for. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVWheelator.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I've got a fun story here. First, you couldn't believe the phrase, or you couldn't use the phrase Super Bowl without permission, and now it looks like superhero is off limits. Marvel and DC Comics have jointly filed a trademark on the word superhero. They claim they invented the word, so they want to own it. And they want to prevent anyone else from using it without their permission. Indie Comics will either have to pay up or find another way to describe their their superb heroes. You think they'll come up with something like that?
Interesting.
Yeah, so they want to own superheroes. That they think that's their word. So there you go. That doesn't affect me at all. Does that affect you?
No.
Okay. Well, I want to at least make sure we know before we move on. Now it's time to move on. Coming up, we've got Jack Spratt in the news. We'll tell you all about that in a bit.
This portion of the program is brought to you by GunUp.com. If you're a gun lover, you'll be in heaven at GunUp.com. Built by experienced military veterans, shooting sports competitors, and publishing professionals. They have awesome stories and articles that are read by millions of gun enthusiasts. Check it out at GunUp.com.
Have you ever heard the story of Jack Spratt?
I don't know.
It's a fairy tale about a guy that lives in a giant pumpkin. Remember that?
No.
Well, a family has won a court order in Germany, in the courtroom there, that will allow them to continue to live in a giant pumpkin. True story. The family has lived in this 8-foot-high pumpkin for 3 years.
Holy cow.
The city tried to get them to move, saying the pumpkin did not meet local housing ordinances. The judge recently told the city to leave the family alone. So little Jack Spratt living in his pumpkin, apparently that's a true story.
But a pumpkin rots, right?
You'd think so. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing to keep this one from rotting, but they're living in, maybe they had it dried or something. I'm not sure.
I don't know. We've got one sitting on our porch that needs to be disposed of.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can move into it. No, it's not quite big enough.
No, it's definitely not big enough.
So there you go.
That's an impressive pumpkin.
Yeah, 8-foot ceiling in this pumpkin. That's a big old pumpkin. All right. Coming up in a bit, we got some more to share and some good news on the way. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1, plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
A couple of tourists were stopped at a service station in Valdez, Alaska, when they decided to let their little pet Chihuahua out to relieve itself. No sooner than the dog started out doing his business, but he was snatched then by the strong claws of an American bald eagle.
Oh, no.
Before anybody could react, the pup was up and away.
Oh.
The gas station attendant says the dog's female owner seemed very upset, while her husband appeared to be rooting for the eagle. Apparently, he was not a fan of the Chihuahua. Like, did you see that eagle? Whoa!
Oh, that's
the strength
funny.
that thing must have. I have no more information, so I don't know how it ends. I don't know if there's good news for this puppy. Can you even imagine? We have 2 little dogs, and both of them are about that size.
Yeah.
One is poodle crossed with Chihuahua, and the other is poodle crossed with what?
Maltese.
Maltese. So they're both tiny little dogs.
Yes.
One a little tinier than the other. And I could imagine if a giant eagle could pick up a Chihuahua, they could certainly pick up Miley, couldn't they?
Oh, for sure.
So if a eagle came along and swooped up our dog, would you be sad or would you be cheering for the eagle?
Well, I would obviously be sad,
I would also
but it would
be
be
sad.
pretty cool to see. I'm
Well,
not going to lie. It'd be kind of impressive.
I'm
I
telling
love
you,
our dogs.
I love our dogs dearly. I would be very sad if an eagle swooped them up. But it's funny that this, according to this, in Valdez, Alaska, it says here the gas station attendant said the female owner, the wife, it doesn't say if they were husband or wife, but the female owner was very upset while the male owner seemed to be rooting for the eagle. Wow. Imagine the rest of that car trip.
Oh, my goodness.
That is going to be an interesting car trip right there. Coming up, we've got some good news, and this is a really cool concept, trying to bring differing minds together. We're going to share a story about this all on the way.
This portion of the program is brought to you by DirecTV. Call 1-800-259-7646. They have hundreds of channels to choose from, with many packages to fit your viewing desires. Learn more at 1-800-259-7646.
We always try to end this program with something positive, and I think this is a cool story, and I hope that it goes well, because there's a huge opportunity for this to not go well. I mean, there's a huge opportunity for this to backfire.
All right.
But a cafe in Israel is using the power of hummus in an effort to bring Jewish and Arabian residents together.
I read about that. I actually think this is beautiful.
It is. It's a cool thing. 3 weeks of deadly violence throughout the country, and the occupied Palestinian terrorists are there. According to ABC News, the Hummus Bar near the coastal city of Netanya, I believe is how you say it, they're offering a 50% discount on chickpea dishes for all tables where Jewish people and Arabian people sit together.
Yeah,
They're saying,
I think that's
you guys
wonderful.
sit together, you guys chat amongst yourselves and learn that you're not that different, and we're going to give you a 50% discount on your hummus.
I think that's beautiful. I love that.
According
Absolutely
to a post
love
from
that.
the restaurant's Facebook page, they're saying that it's going really well so far. So I hope that it continues to go well. Sadly, and I'm not saying just here in this particular part of the world, but that definitely in that part of the world are there people who don't see eye to eye. But I think in many parts of the world we have that where people dislike each other, and if they would just sit down and talk, they would realize, you know what, we're not all that different.
That's right.
And I've had that happen before, where there are people that, I would say I'm not necessarily enemies, but we certainly weren't friends. But the more you get a chance to chat with them, you go, you know what, those guys, they're actually very nice people.
And then there are some people that you thought you were friends, and you get a chance to visit with them and get to know them, and you realize
Maybe
that person was not my friend at all.
Maybe we weren't best of pals. So, but I think this is a cool idea. And again, this is happening in a little town called, I think it's Netanya.
I think that's beautiful.
I think it is too. That's why I thought I would share that as, I search for these things. Sometimes they're a couple days old. So you already saw this? When did you see it? A couple days ago?
Like a week ago.
Well, by the time I see it, sometimes they are a couple days old. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Time now for the bonus break. Only available here on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
And your bonus break is brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club. Heidi, did you know that?
Yes, I did.
How in the world did you know that? Are you
Did know
psychic or
that.
something? Okay, it's been brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club for a while, and it's going to continue to be brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club for a little more long, a little more longer. A little. They're probably done today, as a matter of fact. It's going to keep going until they stop. I don't know what the heck I'm saying. Hey, anyway, if you'd like to learn more about this awesome program, it's a way for you to save money on razors. I mean, think about this, guys. If you could, you would just never shave again ever, right? But then you'd grow a big old bushy beard. Now, some people like that. Some people are into that. I tried that. I was maybe 2 weeks into it.
Yeah.
There was like a no shave November a couple years ago. Remember that?
Yes.
It's November again. I'm shaving again because I can't do it. I tried growing a beard and I was all itchy and scratchy. I was like, I can't handle this. And my beard is not a pretty beard. I look homeless with a beard. There are some people that look good with a beard.
There are a few people who can pull it off.
Now, I'll tell you,
honestly.
we're big fans of the movie or the TV show Last Man on Earth. He does not look good with a beard.
He does not look good with
He
a
looks
beard.
homeless as well.
He does.
What is the guy's name? Will Forte.
Yeah.
And love the guy. Love the concept for the movie or the TV show.
And he's a handsome guy without his beard,
is.
but with...
He was just on Jimmy Fallon like a week ago. I watched it over the weekend because I record the show and watch it later. But he had done a test to see if there was any fecal matter in his beard.
Ew.
There was all kinds of other stuff. Thank goodness that wasn't in there.
Ew.
But he had all kinds of other stuff that was in his beard.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, no kidding. And it was just gross. Anyway, if you don't want to walk around with gunk on your face like that, shave it off. Dollar Shave Club can help you do it for less. Learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Got some fun stuff to share today, Heidi.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to start right here. Where are we going to start? How about right here? 6 strategies for dealing with stress at work.
All right.
You know anybody going through any stressful things?
Oh, yeah.
My wife is at her stress level. If it goes to 10, she's at 14.
Yes.
That's where it's at right now. So I can understand that. So this is a good one. So these are the 6 things you're supposed to do while dealing with stress at work. Number 6, look after yourself. Make it so nobody else has to follow up on what you're doing. Just take care of things. Make sure you're doing it. Number 5, share the load. If you've got too much stuff going on, reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you please do me a favor and help do this? I'll do all of these other things if you could just do this. Number 4, lead by example. If there are things that are stressing you out because other people are showing up late, but you're also showing up late, kind of hard to, get after them if they're doing the same thing that you're doing. Number 3 on the list of 6 strategies for dealing with stress at work, realize that you can only do your best. If you're doing your best, then don't stress out because, hey, this is the best I'm going to do. Number 2, voice your expectations and get agreements. So if you're talking to people and maybe there's somebody dropping the ball, get them to agree to whatever it is that you're saying and make sure that you have them agreeing with it, not just walking away, them thinking one thing and you thinking something else. And then number 1, believe it or not, it says pray and seek support. The number 1 thing to do for dealing with stress at work. I've done that a lot. Definitely.
Yep, agreed.
All
I have
right.
one more.
What's that?
Let your attorney handle it.
That's true as well. Depending on what you're going through. I'll tell you, this is something that we've not really talked about on here. We're not going to go into a great deal, but we've got something right now where there's an attorney working on it. And here's the coolest thing ever. My wife over here is a worrier, and we've got the greatest attorney on the earth. And he said, I'll tell you when you need to worry. Because he said, don't worry about it. Don't worry. You guys are telling the truth. Everything's good. You're going to prevail. It may take a while. Don't worry. I will tell you if you need to worry. And here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you to worry because you don't need to worry.
That's right.
I was like, what awesome advice. And I can tell you, you were in a much better mood right after that.
Oh, yeah. Ever since hearing that from him, the guy who knows everything, I'm good to go.
We've never been in this situation before. We've never sued anybody in our life. So I'm like, I don't know how this stuff works. All right. Changing the direction quite a bit now. We're going to talk about bulletin bloopers. I've actually seen some of these before. I think this is funny. These are real bloopers from church bulletins. There's a guy that actually put a book out with a bunch of these. It's called Did You Read That? By Derek Johnson. And here are some of the bloopers where people, got a little bit ahead of themselves while they were writing for the church bulletin, and they goofed up a little bit. So this one here, the choir will meet at the Larson's house for fun and sinning. Not sinning, singing. That's what we meant. All right. The outreach committee has enlisted 25 visitors to make calls on people who are not afflicted with any church. I think they meant affiliated. Ushers will eat latecomers. Pretty sure they mean greet. All right. The ladies of the church have cast off clothing of every kind, and they can be seen in the church basement Friday afternoon. They meant cast off clothing, like they have extra clothing that you can see if you'd like to buy it. But the ladies cast off all their clothing. All right, today's sermon, how much can a man drink, with hymns from a full choir? So it's like the choir was drinking. That's why they're full. All right, what else do we have here? Pastor is on vacation. Messages can be given to the church secretary. Oh, massages.
Massages.
Pastor is on vacation.
Funny.
Massages can be given to the church secretary. That's kind of funny. And then I read it the way they meant it instead of what they actually put. All right, and this is probably my favorite, and I saw this one already once before. It says, a bean supper will be held on Tuesday evening. Music will follow. I think that's funny right there. All right, that's going to do it for our bonus break. Brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club. You can learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio.